Nothing we say is investment advice. Please pause on all 3 pages of this disclaimer and read it.
Greetings, Algo Artisans, Cowboy here, and it is Monday, August the 17th, 3:03 p.m. EST as we record this. We're going to take a look today at some possible trades coming up for the NASDAQ, Bitcoin, USDCAD, EURUSD, AUDUSD, gold, and silver. And these are possible swing trades coming up this week, as well as a forecast for which way I think the charts are going. Before we get into that, please take a look at the description. There is a freebie in there for you. It is a free algo. Click on that link and it'll take you to a very short video, 15 minutes or so, where I build an algo before your very eyes. I show you the tools that traders use to connect that algo to their broker so it can trade for them when they're not even sitting at the computer. Now, you do have to optimize the algo. It is not plug and play. However, we will teach you that over at algofactory.tech. Come give us a visit. Also, do us a favor, like and subscribe. It helps us out in a big way. So before we get into the forecast, we're going to take a look at the economic data releases that are coming up this week, and we're going to take a look at them over on forexfactory.com. So here we are, Monday the 17th, and it's pretty much over. We had some Canadian data come out this morning. Tomorrow, the European Open, really 2 a.m. EST, we have some employment data coming out for the Brits over in the UK, so anything affecting the pound or the FTSE or anything British, that can happen. Again, Wednesday at the European Open, which is 2 a.m. EST, we have the British CPI coming out, again affecting similar markets. 2 p.m. EST on Wednesday, we have the FOMC minutes coming out. This is a little bit unpredictable, although I don't expect a lot from it. It doesn't mean we won't get a lot from it. The new Fed policy is to talk less about policy. So with Kevin Warsh in, he's giving a lot less clues, a lot less guidance. He's letting the market sort of figure its way into what's going to happen. So it may be that they don't give a lot out of the minutes, meaning the recorded conversations at the meeting the Fed had prior to announcing the interest rate a couple of weeks ago. That's what the FOMC minutes is. They've recorded that conversation. They've recorded all the talking points and everything else that the entire Fed had before they made a decision on the rate. And then they released that conversation for everybody to read 2 p.m. EST on Wednesday. And with the new Fed chair in there who is saying a lot less, this might actually reveal a lot more and have a bigger effect than prior FOMC minutes had. Because the last year or so, I don't remember the minutes having a big effect at all. So something to think about. I don't expect a big reaction, but we'll see. 9:30 p.m. EST, we have some Aussie data coming out, their employment data, so that'll affect anything Australian. Not a lot on Thursday or Friday. There are some minor events coming out, but nothing heavy impacts. So let's go ahead and take a look at the charts, and we'll see what my forecast is and what we think is going to happen. We'll start with the NASDAQ. So the NASDAQ looks kind of interesting. On a higher time frame, this is pretty stable. On a low time frame, it's hard to see whether or not it's going to dump or move up. It could do either. And this is why we've seen this kind of ranging motion. We had a pretty interesting week last week where we had what looked like a bull trap where the price went up, got everybody excited, and then right after that went right back down. So if I zoomed in on this, this is actually a pretty big move as these things go. We had a breakout of this area that I actually predicted on last week's show, right? So it broke out above this level right here. And the move up was pretty remarkable. And then within a day, it went right back down, which probably got a lot of people out of their trades. And then we had a Sunday open just yesterday where price kind of moved up and today's moving down. So it just looks like price is going to wag back and forth until it makes a decision. Now, I usually err to the upside with the NASDAQ. At this point, if I were to look at the algos, it really could go either way. I do expect some movement down, but after that, is it going to wag back and forth? Is it going to go up and down? I mean, this is actually a pretty weird time. It's a tough thing to guess. If I absolutely had to guess based on looking purely at the algos, I would say down. I would say price would want to come down a bit, but it'd probably pop right back up and it would bounce right off of 29,240 if it did that. So if price made its way down all that way, and that would be pretty remarkable. That would be a big move and scare a lot of people. Might be coincidental with that Wednesday announcement with the releasing of the minutes. And if that did happen, I would look for a long right there. And where I got out of it would be as a swing trade. I'm not really big on swinging the NASDAQ, but I'd probably get out of it below that prior level where it had to break out last week, right? This 30,087. Will it get down there? I really can't say. It's a weird time, and I mostly day trade the NASDAQ, so this really doesn't matter to me quite as much. So that's how I would do that. I would not count on it getting down there, but if it got down there, I would look to go long long on that. If price broke above this key level right here, which is 30,348, I might look to grab a long on that, although it might be not very exciting. It would be more of a day trade long, and I'd look to just go up to this next resistance right here. Depending on how things behave, I would be out before 30,600, right? And that's if we get a break topside. Okay, so now remember, I don't just willy-nilly enter these trades. I have rules. So these are just ideas of what I might do. Okay, I don't like to take big shorts on the NASDAQ. I don't like to swing trade short on the NASDAQ because they tend to hold the NASDAQ up. Right? Let's not get into that. So that's it. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin looking rather bullish right now. It had a big day. I think we're going to see the same sort of look as we did the last several weeks, where price is going to bounce between this upper level of about 65,400 and it might bounce at about 62,200 or before. We can see that it bounced before that. So price really could bounce at this level here if it came back down. But what I expect to see this week, as the algos say, would be just kind of a grind up, maybe a pullback to grab a little liquidity out of this mess, maybe a pullback, maybe not, right? But this was a sharp move up. I would expect a pullback to even out this big move up, to clear out some of that leverage, and then see price grind its way up the rest of the week. It could break out. If it did break out, it would probably be done by 66,000. Let's just say 67,000. So if it broke out, and if it was a breakout with a lot of conviction, I would consider, doesn't mean I would do it, but I would consider a long up to maybe like 66,800-ish. And I would be out, by the end of the week, maybe. I mean, it really depends on a lot of factors, but this would be the trade I would consider on a high conviction breakout. It would need to be something that the algos are very, very much for. If price didn't break out, of course, I'd be looking for a short at the level. So the level where the trades are probably going to happen is going to be at that 65,400, this blue line right here, which is this structure created back at the beginning of August. Okay, so we look for a possible short at that level as well, and I probably would be out of the short by 63,350 or so. So that's what I'm looking at here. Let's move on to USDCAD. This one continues to be bearish. I do expect it to maybe grind sideways, not as bullish as I drew it though. Maybe just kind of a slow sideways grind and then move down further. That's what I expect. I do not expect price to head up. If there was some kind of news that caused price to head up to this level, I would certainly look to short it, probably at 13,912 or even as soon as 13,9580. I just don't think price will spike up there. If it did, I would consider a short, but at this point, I probably would look for any kind of rejection and take that short down. That's what I would do. And it would look something like this. I'm not saying I would enter right here. I'm just sort of giving you an idea of how I would look at it if price did this, and I'd be willing to and very ready to change that plan if something changed, right? But it could happen a lot sooner as well. So there needs to be a rejection. I'd look at that and I would be out of that short by 137.22, out of that short by then. Let's take a look at the euro. So the euro, I expect sort of a grind and possibly up, or just a sideways grind where it wants to touch the bottom. I would, at this point in the game, feel rather confident taking a long down here if price either comes to tests or comes near this 115.15. I would look for a long at that time and take targets sometime before this upper bound, which is 116.14. That's how I would handle that. That's about the only trade I think is going to happen this week for the euro. Maybe it doesn't go as far. Maybe there's a way to grab the long if it does kind of head up sooner than that. And that's possible. For example, if we only saw this abbreviated move down, perhaps a long at that time, but I'm not going to really think too hard about that until it happens, right? I'm not going to try to paint an opportunity until I actually see it. So for now, this is the solid trade that I would look at, and we'll go ahead and take a look at AUDUSD. Similar to the euro, but a bit more bullish. I would look for a long, probably at this level right here. Now, it might only make its way down to this level right here, which is 79.13. So this level right there might be a long to consider, right? I do have it going lower to grab liquidity. I would like a long either way. Just depends on if we see the reversal, what the algos say, but Probably the most clear long would be something like this. Price comes down to grab liquidity from this area right here, basically bounces off that, and we get an opportunity to go long. It might go deeper, it could go deeper, and we get a deeper entry and all that. I mean, these are all variables, but this is a general idea of the long I would consider. And of course, as everything unfolds, we'll reevaluate that in the morning shows. Let's take a look at gold. So right now I see gold bouncing between 4,400 and 40 at the upper bound and lower bound at 43.10 or so, right? If it breaks above, it'll probably continue to go up. I don't know that it's going to break below this. I wouldn't even think about what it's going to do until it does. Right now, it just has a general bullishness to it, but I don't know that we're going to see the big move up just yet. We could. This could be the beginning of the big move to the new highs. Very possible. We're just going to have to see how it plays out. But if gold showed me that it was going to reverse back down, I'd look for it to do so at about 44.40 and consider a short. Right now, it all depends on how price is behaving, what the market is doing, what the algos are saying, etc. But I'd say the safest trade on this would be along down below at this 4,300 because there is a fair amount of bullishness yet left with gold. Gold's pretty bullish, silver as well. So I would look for a bounce right there. I would be out before that 44.40. I'd exit the trade before this, but I would always be looking for a possible breakout to the upside as well. I would be cautious trading such a breakout, but as that happens, I would take a look at the algos and choose whether or not I want to go long above that 44.40 area. So that's the plan with gold. Let's take a look at silver. Similar to gold, silver, I think, is going to bounce between 66.83, which is this blue line right here, and the lower level of 63.57 or so. And I think the safest trade would be a long at that lower level, 63.55 or whatever that number is. I would look for a long around there. It's the safest trade. Of course, just like gold, we could get a short, maybe price bounces off of that upper level that we mentioned earlier, which is 66.84 or so. Could find a short there, but I'd be real careful with that. Like I said, gold and silver are pretty bullish, and when the crowd digs in, the crowd really digs in. So I'd be real careful with that. Short, I'd be looking for that long. Thanks for watching. This is what we do at Algo Factory. We take a look at the charts, we predict where price is going to go, when it's going to get there, and we extract profits from those movements on a daily, weekly, or even sometimes hourly basis. In fact, I'm doing it a lot more often because this is what I do for a living. If you want to know more about it, get a sneak preview. There is a link in the description that it's a video. It'll take you to a video where I build an algo before your eyes and I show you the tools that traders use to connect that algo to their broker so they don't have to trade. The computer will trade for them. Now, one does have to optimize their algos before they do such a thing, right? We don't just plug our algos in and say, hey, here's my money. Not a good idea. We teach you how to optimize over at algofactory.tech. So come check us out, algofactory.tech. Learn to trade like a hedge fund pro. We will be back tomorrow morning, 8:30 a.m. EST, as well Wednesday and Thursday. And there is a new series coming out where we have new traders. This is a trading coach session for beginning traders, and keep your eye out for that. It's not at a specific time. I tend to record them on Tuesdays and have them out by Wednesday. So keep an eye on that as well. And thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow morning, 8:30 a.m. bright and early.